So you got your new shiny AMD graphics card. It runs at astonishing frame rates and graphical detail, but it's hot and loud and uses more power than all the necessities in your house. Undervolting is a method that can drastically reduce power consumption and thermals on any graphics card and even the CPU without losing any performance whatsoever. But how do you do it? Today I'll be using my RX 570 and AMD's Wattman to show you how to undervolt to get noticeable results. Manual undervolting can be avoided on other AMD graphics cards such as the Vega series through the auto undervolting option. This isn't available for Polaris GPUs such as my RX 570. First, what I like to do is leave the graphics card completely stock and use Wattman to monitor the temperatures and power consumption while under load. Once this is accounted for, we can begin. Benchmarks such as Unigine Heaven and others that can continuously play are very useful to leave in the background as you adjust settings. But they aren't as good as real games, so to properly test stability we'll cover a larger amount of intensive tasks for the card such as games on their maximum graphics settings. First, start by clicking on voltage control to enable manual mode to adjust the voltages. Frequency can be left as is unless you want to lower performance for even lower power draw. First, try adjusting the main voltage, lowering voltages by 50 mV until a crash or freeze. When this happens, don't worry. Wattman should reset the settings and you can try again, or if you're unlucky you'll have to restart the PC. Every 50 mV reduced, leave it for a few minutes in a benchmark such as Unigine Heaven to test if it's stable. If no visual artifacts or black and blue screens are seen in the next 5 to 10 minutes, you're good to carry on. As you reach lower voltages or you crash, lowering by 25 mV to even 5 mV at a time is recommended to get as low as possible. I've reached as low as 900 mV as shown. The next step is to scroll all the way down to the bottom to adjust the power limit. While testing in Unigine, slowly lower the power limit until clock speeds are reduced. When the clock speed reduces, raise the limit until a stable clock is achieved. Memory speeds don't need to be touched as they often don't reduce power by much and can lower performance in certain games by a significant amount. If possible, tinkering to get them higher at the same set voltage will likely give noticeable gains, especially if you're using a higher end card without any diminishing returns to the power draw. Next, the fan curve can be adjusted to experience lower noise levels. I leave it on this default fan curve and enable 0 RPM, which allows the card to be silent when it's not under load. There you have it. A graphics card that's hopefully now sipping power. From my testing, I experienced significant reduction in power usage, from approximately 140 watts all the way down to the mid 80s, nearly halving the consumption. In the new World of Tanks Encore ray tracing benchmark, while stock, the power consumption averaged 140 watts and peaked at slightly above 150. The average frame rate was 50.2 with 0.1% lows of 18.6. When undervolted, an average of 87 watts was achieved with an average frame rate of 47.3 and 1% lows of 23.7 frames per second. Power consumption was lowered by 47% when undervolted and average frame rates were a mild 6% lower. 0.1% lows raised by 24% surprisingly too. In the Unigine Heaven benchmark, the stock GPU achieved an average power draw of 135 watts. When undervolted, the card consumed 83 watts, a 48% reduction in power. In Grand Theft Auto 5, the RX 570 consumed on average 132 watts while maintaining an average frame rate of 97.8, with 0.1% lows of 63.3 FPS. When undervolted, consumed an average of 82 watts and achieved 91.6 FPS on average, with 0.1% lows of 58.5. The 47% reduction in power, similar to the previous scene reductions, and only comes in at a cost of 6.5% lower average FPS, and marginally reduced 0.1% lows. Across all three tests, the RX 570 consumed on average 135 watts, compared to the 84 watts on average while undervolted. While I slightly reduced clock speeds to achieve this power draw, it came at a roughly 10% loss in performance compared to the stock card, while averaging 63% less power across all tests. I attempted my card's stock speed, 1340 MHz at the same voltages, but resulted in crashes. Although I could raise the voltage to maintain stability, the power draw would increase considerably. While the RX 570 was released back in early 2017, based on the even older RX 470, when undervolted it can still compete with cards like the GTX 1650 on power consumption and performance at an even lower price. That's a card that was released in April 2019. If you found this video helpful, consider liking and subscribing to catch more videos like this, as I'd like to dive deeper into the topic. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.